the best news of 2022 so far has been that King of the Hill will be getting a revival, and the revival will be coming from the new animation studio called Bandera Entertainment. And Mike Judd, along with the original cast and crew, will be reviving their roles, but not all of them will be reviving their roles. And in this video, I'm going to theorize how they should bring back King of the Hill and where it should go.
What is lost may unexpectedly resurface.
The show is centered around the Hill family, Hank, Bobby, and Peggy Hill, but it doesn't necessarily revolve around them. It does have an amazing supporting cast and also a nice background cast. Now, I'll be telling mainly about kind of the some of the supporting cast, but mainly a lot of the main cast though as well.
Bobby, if you weren't my son, I'd hug you.
So let's start off with everyone's favorite propane salesman, Hank Rutherford Hill. Now, when we last saw Hank, he was the assistant manager at Strickland Propane, where he sells propane and propane accessories. But now, when we see Hank now in this revival, what I would do is I would make him the owner of Strickland Propane, because there really is no one who embodies Strickland Propane more than Hank Hill. Now, even I would even go to say that he likes Strickland more than Buck Strickland himself. Now, we would see Buck retire, but he would still appear now and then in the season or in the show, really. I mean, Buck wouldn't be gone for ever, but Buck would be reduced to mainly a side character role. He wouldn't get as much TV time, but he would be there if Hank ever needs some questions or that. And since he is Buck Strickland, he would still have a share in Strickland Propane. But I figure, let's make Hank the owner of Strickland Propane, and he can get into more, I don't say more hijinks, but he can do more stuff. He can visit other Strickland locations, because we've only really seen one Strickland location in Ireland. And in this revival, I would like to see how big Strickland has gotten, or how big Strickland actually is, and see Hank visit these other offices and maybe close some of them down.
You do that, and you have to deal with Peggy Hill.
When we last left Peggy Hill, she was a realtor at Sizemore Realty. Now, in this revival, I would take her out of the realty business and put her back into the teaching business, as she would be a Spanish teacher at Ireland High. She would be the freshman Spanish teacher, that is. She would no longer be a substitute, but a full-time teacher at Ireland High. And I always liked having Peggy in the teaching environment, because I feel like she not only thrived there, but had more comedic timing in there and everything. And it always is nice to see her kind of interact with Bobby, who would also be going to Ireland High. But we'll talk about Bobby more in a second.
He blocked the channel guard. Now I don't even know what I'm missing.
Now let's talk about the three main kids of King of the Hill: Bobby Hill, Joseph Gribble, and Connie Stupid Phone. Now, I would age them up to be teenagers, and they would be sophomores at Ireland High. Now, I found this picture on Reddit that really gets the vision of how I see them being teenagers. Now, as you can see, Bobby is wearing a Strickland Propane shirt, while Joseph is wearing an Ireland High Letterman jacket, while Connie is dressing more feminine. Now, we would have them be, like I said, sophomores at Ireland High, and they would also probably get jobs throughout this season/series. Now, we could easily put Bobby working at Strickland Propane. We did see him work at Strickland Propane in Season 7, Episode 16, The Miseducation of Bobby Hill. But it didn't really work out as well, because he was, miseducated by Joe Jack. And then he saw that Hank's way was actually the right way. Now, with more proper training, we could see Bobby actually following in Hank's footsteps. But it also could take a turn for the worse, where Bobby would become spoiled at Strickland Propane and think that he's untouchable, since Hank his dad is the owner of Strickland Propane. And now we would also see maybe the kids get in feuds with other high schools. Now we've only heard of Arlen High, but we haven't heard of what other high schools are around there. Like, maybe is there like Walker High or like Aikman High, where they can get into like a feud with, where they compete against like other schools. And you know, it would be kind of the kind of classic high school trope we would see for the three kids.
Yeah, man, I'll tell you what, that dang old internet, man, you just go on there and point and click, get in there and talk about www.com, and you got them naked chicks on there, man. You go click, 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 click. It's real easy, man.
In the series finale of King of the Hill, we find out some interesting facts about everyone's smooth, fast talker, Boomhauer, and that is, his first name is Jeff. And Boomhauer's job is also being a Walker, Texas Ranger. And now, for this revival, I wouldn't really change too much about Boomhauer. I would still have him being that fast talker that he is. Now, if you're not aware of how fast he talks, it's something like this. Mando, I went down to the store and I went to go get some eggs, and then I went to go get some bacon, and man, see, I can't talk as fast as him. But basically, Boomhauer talks very fast, where only his three friends can really understand him, which is Hank, Bill, and Dale. They're the only three that really can understand him. And he does talk very fast, where it's like, you really can't understand. I don't know how they understand it, but that would be the trope that I would still keep in there. But we wouldn't really do too much to Boomhauer. Maybe there would be an episode where we would actually see him be like a Walker, Texas Ranger. But not much would change with Boomhauer. He would still be the secret of smooth, fast talker that everybody loves.
Those hotel guys bought me off with this t-shirt. It made me feel cheap and used, but it breathes nice.
In Season 7, Episode 22, Made in Arlen, we see Bill dating Con Supernuciphone's mother, Leoma. Now, we don't know what happens to them after this episode, because in the final scene of King of the Hill, we see Bill is yet again alone. But in this revival, we would see Bill and Leoma would now be a married couple, and they would adopt a teenage girl who would end up being Joseph's love interest. Now, Joseph, Bill's adopted daughter, could go on a double date with Bobby and Connie. And we would also see another person added to the cast. So instead of there being three kids, there would be a fourth kid.
This course is the feces that is produced when shame eats too much stupidity. You people make me envy the deaf and the blind. Underwear, money, fat.
Now let's talk about what everyone's favorite conspirator, Dale Gribble, and his wife would be in this revival. Now, when we last saw Dale Gribble and Nancy, Dale would still be working for Dale's Dead Bug, while Nancy would still be the news anchor. Nothing too much would change with them, but we would have them have their own baby, whether it be a boy or a girl. We would have them have a baby of their very own, because as we know, Joseph is actually the father of John Redcorn, and Dale believes that Joseph's father is actually an alien. So it would be nice to see how Dale reacts to having someone who is a purebred of him. And maybe Joseph gets a little jealous that this newborn is actually 100% Dale's father. And maybe it's a girl, so we can see how Dale raised a girl this time.
Man, come quick. Hank and Peggy having old school redneck domestic squabble on front lawn.
Oh, I bet you burned the meat off.
Now for this revival, we wouldn't see too much change happen to Con and Min Supernuciphones. Because honestly, I mean, they were good characters. I liked them at all, but this is where I would pass it off to somebody else. Because maybe you can have, Con do an episode with like Bill, since, Bill is actually Con's stepdad now. Maybe there's an episode there or something like that, but we wouldn't see too much change for them. They would mainly just be background or like supporting characters again.
Where have you been? I was going to call the police, but I don't know your last name.
Now, if you're a big enough King of the Hill fan like myself, you're probably asking the question, what are you going to do with Lucky and Luanne? How are they going to be in the revival? Now, both the actors who both portrayed Lucky and Luanne, Tom Petty, who portrayed Lucky, and Brittany Murphy, who voiced Luanne, both passed away. So what I would do is I would have them live off camera, per se, and we would hear that Lucky and Luanne have moved. Where? That would be determined later on. Like maybe they moved to Wisconsin, or maybe they moved to Canada. But anyway, they would live off camera and they would be there. They would still be alive, just off camera. And they did have a baby, Gracie. Now in this rival, Gracie would be aged up. She would be a teenager as well. Maybe I'm thinking 15, 16, maybe 14, but she would be a teenager, and she would be the link that would kind of either keep them alive, or when she would go visit Hank, she would say, oh, they passed on, or, you know, they died. But I would probably keep them alive, but off camera, because I don't really like it when people recast stuff, especially when they've gotten so used to hearing that person come out of that character's mouth. And Gracie could have a nice, I don't want to say spin-off, but she would be a nice kind of like supporting character, or a character that comes in every now and then.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. How is everyone tonight?
Jennifer, we're fantastic.
So there you have it. How I would bring back King of the Hill to modern times. How I would do a soft reboot of King of the Hill. What did you think of the ideas that I had for the characters? Did you love them? Did you hate them? Sound off in the comments below. And remember to do those 3 things that you always gotta do after watching a YouTube video. Subscribe, like, and comment. I'll tell you what. But in all seriousness, I do hope when they bring back King of the Hill, it's actually a good revival, and they're not just bringing it back for the money. But thanks, and you take care.
You'll be grilling your whole life.
Just like you.
Yep.
Yep.